the moment that you kind of put the disc into the computer to the moment you're playing your first loop, I'm trying to really have tried to pay attention to what that experience is like for the user and try to document any kind of unique things about the installation for DrumCore 3 and try to simplify it as much as possible, but at the same time, there's 16 gigs of content, and there's so it's a lot of stuff, and trying to break it down to make it into kind of a logical step-by-step process to get working, to be making music, which is the most important thing.
So as I'm putting together these drum packs, I mean, it's hard to resist the temptation to kind of stop work and just pick up my guitar and play along with the loops, because they're really fun.
We have a lot of loops. Dude, it's crazy, but and especially DrumCore 3, it's got almost 16 gig. That includes kits, so actual loop is, I don't know, maybe 12, 13 gig. Running into a hard time, like, okay, which, just selects the usable material, also the fun stuff, the performance that kind of inspires us or a musician, that it's kind of fun to play around, and get rid of those, not so cool stuff.
Well, we usually have the guys try and bring in as much gear as they can within reason. We don't have time to sort through every piece of gear a lot of these guys have, because most of the drummers we hire
have a lot of gear,
have a lot of stuff. But typically they'll bring in what they know works well and what they've used on previous recordings. So that's generally a good starting point. But we do try and mix it up for each groove, because a groove sort of dictates the sound that you're using, or vice versa. The sound will sort of dictate what you play. So we ask them, and they like to do this as well. We'll switch snare drums for a different groove set, or we'll change ride cymbals or hi-hats, and that will also reflect in the kits as well. It gives us some other options, so we can build the kits to sort of match the groove sets, and that's the ultimate goal.
So when we hire a drummer, usually the drummer's brought in because he's an expert at a certain style, and usually when they come in, they have, well, almost always, they have the kind of gear that is representative of the style. So when we hire a jazz drummer, he comes in with double-headed kick, calfskin heads. His drums sound different than a heavy metal guy who comes in with a double kick drum, big hi-hats. So when we select drummers, they're experts in their style. They bring the equipment that makes the sound that matches the style.
When I'm programming the MIDI beats, with Live Drummer, it's a little different now, because it does sort of randomize the timbre, which we really like, and it's a real humanizing factor when you're programming. But we do take so many sample layers. Like if you look at more of our recent kits, I mean, some drums will have up to 30 layers of velocity, and that, as you hit the drum harder, the sound changes. The timbre of the drum changes just like it would in the air with a real live guy. So we try and emulate that in programming, and so I'll go in and try and grab all those nuances, ghost notes, things like that translate pretty well with our multi-sampling approach.
So in determining the number of layers we take per drum, you want to have enough layers so you have enough variation so it sounds like a real drum. You don't want to have so many variations that every hit sounds drastically different from the hit before it, because it doesn't sound natural. Especially on things like kick drums, we found that people work hard to have a solid kick that's consistent, especially in pop music. And if every hit hits a different sample layer and sounds radically different than the hit before, it sounds disjointed. It's not what you're trying to get. So we try to balance having enough layers to create a lot of realism, but not having so many layers that the drummer sounds sort of inconsistent. We have several different studios, and within each studio we have different environments that we can record the drums in. So we try to vary that and mix it up. We have large live rooms, we have smaller wood rooms, we have smaller dead rooms. So depending on the style of music and the drummer we're recording, we try to match that up. Our rooms were designed by Neil Grant. He's a famous acoustic designer.